Once you've created a basic table, you can begin to alter and improve the properties of the fields. If we double click on list of staff, this opens up in what we call the data sheet view. We would like to get into design view. You can click down in the bottom right onto the design view, or you can get to it from the top here on your home ribbon. You'll see here we've got a button called design. It's got this little picture on there. You can also choose from here, design view. It takes us back into where we created our fields and our data type. However, every field that you click on, its property is shown at the bottom. Now on this course, as an introduction, we're going to look at just a few of these properties. Let's say, for example, on the surname. If I click on that, I can see that the properties down here are related to surname, and the first property is called field size, and you'll notice it defaults to 255 characters. Now, the field size, we don't need it to be that big. Most surnames might be 20, maybe 30 characters, so we can change that. Now this will improve the performance by not reserving 255 characters for every single field. If you know that a field, for example a phone number, only has 16 or 18 digits, then you may as well just change this to around 20 in field size. There's no point in using wasted character space. So I've changed that to 30, and I can do that with other ones as well. For example, a postcode. Now here in the UK, all our postcodes, including spaces, are going to be 8 characters. So I can change the length of that to 8. And you would go through doing that for all of those. Now there's a couple of these that we don't need to specify the field size, namely the date of birth. You'll notice it doesn't have a property for field size, and that's because we told it that we intend storing a date or a time in there, so it knows the length of a date and time. The same with salary, that we changed to a data type of currency. It already knows how long currency is. Now there are other properties on here as well. For example, the date of birth, our field name, we abbreviated that to DOB. Now if we don't do anything with this, when we create a form or maybe a report for printing out, it will use the initials DOB, which is my field name, by default on the printout as a title. You may not want it to use that. You might want it to say date of birth. You could change the property of this, and if we look at the property of the DOB, there's a property called caption. Now whatever you type in here is going to be used instead of the field name on forms and reports. So we could type date of birth. If we have a look at this, and I can go up to the top here and click on my data sheet view, it will ask me to save the table because I have made some changes. Yes. And if you now look across the top, we no longer have the letters DOB as a title. It's using my caption. So you might want to use that if you have abbreviated any field names. We can go back to our design view by clicking in the top left corner or the bottom right corner of the screen. The other properties we can do on here are things such as on the gender. Now we expect people to type either the letter M or the letter F for female or male. Now we can actually put a validation in here if we wish. We could specify down in the properties of gender, we have two properties, validation rule, validation text. In the validation rule, I can put M or F. M or F. The validation text, if they make a mistake and don't type an M or an F, they type something other than that, this is what will be displayed on screen. So we could type in must be M or F only. Try again. We could do the similar thing for the salary. We could say that people must earn a minimum of £10,000. So in the salary, if I click in that field and look at the validation rule, I can say that all salaries must be greater than 10,000. The validation text, enter more than 10,000. Other properties down here are things such as required. You may want a field required, so in other words they can't leave it blank. For example, you might say everyone must provide a surname before they can be employed by us. So you could make the surname a required field, and we can change that to yes. The other useful property down here, all the properties are covered on later courses, but for now we'll keep it simple. The date of birth, if you look at one of the properties here, we can change the format. If we click there, we get a drop down and we can choose how we want the date to appear in our data sheet view. So we can choose, say, medium date. This is not how it's typed in, it's just how it appears. We could also use the format for other fields. For example, the gender. When people type either an M or an F, we always want them to be in capitals. What we can do is in the format property, we can type the greater than symbol. That's the open chevron to say greater than, and that will change any character to capital. Now we've done that, let's go to view. It'll ask us to save, and yes to this. So if we type a new name, Jane, go across the surname. Now if I leave that blank, we go across, date of birth. Now watch, I'll type in the date of birth as the 2nd of the 2nd 73. When I tab or enter that, you'll see it's changed it to the format we required. Gender. Now watch what happens if I type anything other than an M or an F. If I type the letter G, when I enter that, I get my validation box appear telling me it must be an M or F. So I type it again. This time I type it in lowercase, so I am going to put the letter F, but I've done it in small case rather than caps. Watch that F change as I enter that. You'll see it's accepted it and it's changed it to uppercase. I can type in the address, and in the department, sales, and the salary, I'm going to pay them £8,000. Once again, because we put validation on here, we can't enter anything less than 10,000. So we need to put it again. So maybe if we make it 18,000, it accepts that. Now, although I've filled in the entire record, I've got a problem because it's telling me I must enter a value in the surname field. That's because I told it was a required field. So I just need to go back and type in that, and that will allow the record to be entered. We can close that.